everyone. In this video, we will tackle about the upper and the lower bounds and the behavior of the graph. Let us discuss first the upper and the lower bounds of the graph of a polynomial function. Suppose we have the graph of the polynomial function. These points are the turning points of the graph and also what we call the roots or the zeros of the polynomial function. So for us to get the lower bound and the upper bound here, for the lower bound, take note that the values of x must be less than 0. So it is most likely to be found on the left side of the Cartesian plane. So these are the values of x which are less than 0. And for the upper bound, it is most likely to be found on the right side of the Cartesian plane because this is where we have all the values of x which is greater than 0. Let us discuss the bounds of the zeros theorem. This theorem will guide us in identifying the lower bound and the upper bound of the graph. So the bounds of the zeros theorem says that when a polynomial function f of x is divided using synthetic division by x minus c, where c is a real number, we have the condition that if c is greater than 0, meaning if the value of x is greater than 0 and all the entries in row 3 are greater than or equal to 0, then c is an upper bound of the zeros of f of x. And we also have if c is less than 0, meaning if the value of x is less than 0 and the entries in row 3 are alternately positive and negative, then c is a lower bound of the zeros of f of x. So for us to be able to understand this theorem, let's have an example and let's apply this one. Let us find the upper and the lower bounds of the zeros of p of x equals to 2x cubed minus x squared minus 13x minus 6. So before we identify the upper and the lower bounds, we need to find first all the zeros of this function. Because if we have already the zeros of the function, this will serve as the basis in identifying the upper and the lower bounds. So let's do this one first. Let's write the coefficients of the polynomial function. We have positive 2, negative 1, negative 13, and then negative 6. For our divisor, we have to write that in the form of p over q. I will link down below the tutorial video about identifying the rational zeros of the polynomial function. So let's proceed to this. The value of p is the constant term. So we have here 6 and then the value of q is the leading coefficient and that is 2. Let's write all the factors of 6 and all the factors of 2. We have the factors of 6, positive and negative 1, positive and negative 2, positive and negative 3, and then positive and negative 6. And then for the denominator or the q, the factors of 2 are positive and negative 1, and then positive and negative 2. Then we simplify this one. We have p over q is equal to positive and negative 1, positive and negative 2, positive and negative 3, positive and negative 6, positive and negative 1 half, and then positive and negative 3 halves. So we will be using all these possible rational zeros in identifying the zeros of our polynomial function. So let's try negative 2. Let's try to find out if this is a zero of the function. So first thing is first, you have to bring down the leading coefficient which is 2 and then proceed to the two operations. We have the multiplication and then addition. So 2 times negative 2 is equal to negative 4. Negative 4 plus negative 1 is equal to negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 2 is equal to positive 10. Positive 10 plus negative 13 is equal to negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 2 is equal to positive 6. Positive 6 plus negative 6 is equal to 0. Our remainder here is 0. Therefore, negative 2 is a zero of the function. Let's try another divisor. We have negative 1 half here. Bring down 2 and then we multiply and then add. We have 2 times negative 1 half, that's equal to negative 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is equal to negative 2. Then negative 2 times negative 1 half is equal to positive 1. Positive 1 plus negative 13 is equal to negative 12. Then negative 12 times negative 1 half is equal to positive 6. Positive 6 plus negative 6 is equal to 0. Our remainder is 0. Therefore, negative 1/2 is a 0 of the function. Let's try another one. We have positive 3 here. Bring down 2 and then we multiply then add. We have 2 times 3 is equal to 6. 6 plus negative 1 is equal to 5. 5 times 3 is equal to 15. 15 plus negative 13 is equal to positive 2. Positive 2 times 3 is equal to 6. 6 plus negative 6 is equal to 0. Therefore, 3 is a 0 of the function. Now that we have all the zeros of the function, we will be looking at the smallest integer or the smallest zero of the function as the basis of the lower bound. So look at the smallest integer, and that would be negative 2. So smaller than negative 2, let's try negative 3, and let's try to find out if this will be the lower bound of the polynomial function. Take note, this will become the lower bound of the polynomial function if and only if the entries here will be alternately positive and then negative. So let's try to divide this one first and find out if we will have the entries which are alternately positive and negative. So let's bring down 2 and then we multiply. 2 times negative 3 is equal to negative 6. Negative 6 plus negative 1 is equal to negative 7. Negative 7 times negative 3 is equal to positive 21. Positive 21 plus negative 13 is equal to positive 8. Positive 8 times negative 3 is equal to negative 24. Negative 24 plus negative 6 is equal to negative 30. Notice that our entries here are alternately positive and then negative, meaning this is the lower bound of the zeros of p of x. So let's go to the upper bound. The basis will be the largest 0 of the function. So the largest 0 here is positive 3. Let us pick a number next to 3 and that is positive 4. Let's try to find out if all the entries here will be greater than or equal to 0, because if all the entries here will be greater than or equal to 0, meaning this is the upper bound of the zeros of p of x. So let us divide. We have bring down 2 here, then multiply, then add. 2 times 4, that's equal to 8. 8 plus negative 1 is equal to positive 7. 7 times 4 is equal to 28. 28 plus negative 13 is equal to positive 15. Positive 15 times 4 is equal to 60. 60 plus negative 6 is equal to positive 54. Notice that all the entries here are greater than 0, so meaning this is the upper bound of the zeros of p of x. We can now conclude that the zeros of the function are negative 2, negative 1/2, and then positive 3. And then we have 4, which is the smallest integral upper bound for p of x. This means that the function p of x has no zero larger than 4. We have another conclusion that negative 3 is the largest integral lower bound. This means that the function f of x has no more zero smaller than negative 3. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to update you on my next videos.